Hi, welcome to this next section, which is about matching an invoice to a purchase order. I just want to log into Oracle for a moment just to give you a tip about something. This happened when I was creating this video. Was I logged in and I couldn't see my responsibilities. It all said undefined. Just go to the broken link at the top, click that, and it will get you to log back in again. And when you log back in again and click login with your username and password, you should be able to see your responsibilities as normal, which we see here. So yeah, they're back. So they're just a tip for you. So we want to match an invoice to a purchase order. So let's create that invoice. Let's go to Payables Manager and let's go to the Invoice workbench, which we'll see in a minute. So we're just navigating Payables Manager, Invoices Entry, Invoices, and Oracle will start up. And look, I've got a notification telling me a purchase order has been approved. That's how I know to create this invoice. You'll have the same also. So we're in the Invoice workbench now. Brand new invoice being created. It's for UK operating unit. It's a standard type of an invoice, and what I'm going to do in a moment is click into PO number, the field there, and I'm going to click on the pick list and I'm going to choose from an available list of purchase orders that I want to associate to this invoice. So here's a list of available purchase orders. Which one do I want to choose? Well, I'm on the bottom, and from the previous video you'd have seen this purchase order already been created. So I'll click OK to that. And note that this purchase order has already been receipted, which we saw in a previous video if you managed to watch that. So the purchase order numbers bring up the details of who we bought from, who the supplier was. So the supplier number and supply site details have defaulted in with that purchase order number, which is great. What do we need to do next in the invoice header? We need to put in the invoice date. So how do you do that in the organization? Do you do it on the date of received or the date on the actual invoice? That's something to think about. So I'm just choosing a date of today, and I'm putting in a unique invoice number of 101. If I've already used that before, Oracle would say, sorry, you can't use it, it's got to be unique. So that's a good check that Oracle's got there. And an invoice amount, I'm going to put in an incorrect amount now of 500 because I want to correct it later and I want to see Oracle show me that I've made a mistake as well. So I'm just scrolling along the header and the match action. We don't want to match it against the receipt. We want to match this against the purchase order number. So it's what we call a three-way match. I'm matching this invoice to a purchase number which has been receipted, 3 separate documents. So we've got terms of immediate and payment method. I think I'll go with check, and pay group. So this is, I'm paying a supplier here, or I've got a choice. I could pay an employee set up as a supplier. So there are 2 ways that you can choose. So later on we'll pay this supplier, and it'll pick up the pay group from here. So suppliers who I'm choosing as opposed to an employee set up as a supplier. Nothing else here on the invoice header. Let me move down now to the line items, and I can see there's a match button there, and I'll click on match in a moment because I want to match this purchase order number to this invoice. So it will now try and bring up the next form, and from there we will try and find the purchase order that we're looking for, which is this 60005. So let's click on find that purchase order. Right, so we can see at the top there a little box called match. You will eventually click that. So clicking on match, and in quantity invoiced here it will highlight 10. So that was the full amount of the purchase order. If you receive 10, then fine, invoice for 10. If you got 8, invoice for 8. Just pay your supplier what you owe them. And I can see my incorrect amount at the top of 500, and because that's only for £50 for this invoice. What are we actually buying? It's just reminding us that we bought some headcase iPhone 5, and just scrolling along, having a look, you can see buyer details. That's me for the item number, which was for the headcase, and it was the finished good items. Okay, that looks fine. Fine then. So I've got an incorrect invoice amount. I'll change that in a second. If I wanted to, I can have a look at the original invoice for just further information, for clarity, if that's important. You might want to do that, drill down and have a look at a bit more information on the invoice. You can see the actual invoice number and the fact to add 1 line You can have multiple lines on the purchase order. This is for one line, showing us the item. Shipment amount 50. Good. Because remember I put in 500 and that was wrong. Now I know, oh, it should have been 50. I mean, it told us in the previous form anyway, but it's nice to check. And we've now bought 10 items and we received 10 items. Good. So I know 10 came in and 10 were received. We were happy with them. Yeah, we know it's supplier. We're happy with the fact that it's Toshiba and the currency and the fact that the purchase order was approved. Good. And we're matching it to the purchase order. That's fine. That's fine. Happy with that. The purchase order shipments form. We can close that. So we'll close that. We'll move on, and we're going to match to purchase order. Match to purchase order. Happy with the fact that there's 10. And we want all 10. So I'm going to click match now on the bottom right. And it will take us back to the invoice workbench, and I just need to make the one correction because I put in 500 for the invoice amount. So I'm going to change that now. So scrolling right. Yes, you are wrong. It was not 500, it was 50. So put in 50. Good. Happy with that. You can save that. That's good for now. It looks very good. So let's save it. Right, so I've created an invoice, matched it to a purchase order. If I do nothing, nothing will ever happen. So there's a couple of things more I need to do. One is I need to validate it, and two is I need to create the accounting. That has not happened yet. So the system won't actually action anything, it will just sit there. So you must complete these steps. So go to actions 1, validate, and OK to that. And it will go through the validation process in the background, assessing all the information, seeing that it was correct, seeing that the amount you're invoicing against does match the amount on the purchase order, those types of checks. Yep, so it's validated, that's all correct. Now we need to just do the accounting also. Same place, actions 1, always go here to do the actions, and we want to create the accounting. So happy. So I've got draft, final post. Draft just checks the account code combination is correct. Final will create a journal in the GL, but it'll be unposted. But I want to create a journal in GL and have it as a status of posted. So I'll do final post and click OK. I can see the accounting is successful for the transaction. Can we see accounting as yes? Yes, we can. And if we want to, we can navigate up and we can have a look at the accounting. So we can go to Tools and View Accounting Events and have a look at the subledger accounts, because we go from accounts payable to subledger accounting to GL. So this is now taking us to the subledger, and I can see the accounting events there, and I can see for the primary ledger for the invoice that it was validated. I want to view the journal entries, and I can see that the invoice was validated for Toshiba for invoice number 101. Yep, happy with that. Good, good. In the fact that the category was a purchase invoice, and we can drill down a bit further as well in a moment. So we click on the link for UK primary ledger. And we're now in the subledger journal entry for the UK primary ledger. Yeah, okay, happy with that, happy with those details. Yep, we know who we're dealing with, who our suppliers are. What we're really interested now is more in the accounting information. So what's the account? That's 241,600, that's a debit of 50 for that accrual. And for 201100, that liability account, there's a credit of 50. And we could drill down a bit further on that if we wanted to see some more details of who the supplier is, supplier numbers, etc. Have a bit more of a look on the accounting class if that's important. But for now I think that's enough detail here. We'll scroll up in a second and we can close down this window. And we have actually matched the invoice to the purchase order which was receipted, and we validated it and we created the accounting. So now let's go back to the main navigator, let's switch responsibility, let's go into general ledger and let's view the journal that would have been created when we did create accounting in the final post mode. So just going into journals, and then we're going into enter journals, and we should then see the actual journal that's been created. So I'm going to click more to open up journals entry form and put in today's date, and from here we should then be able to see all journals created on this date, and I'm looking to see one that's been created from payables, and I can see it there, source payables, and the categories purchase invoice, and that's great. That's so we've actually created a journal in GL with its unique batch name and journal name. And what we can do is, yeah, we're happy with the debits and credits. Let's have a look now and inquire on that journal. So let's open it up now. So that's what we're doing, opening up the journal, and we can see at the header there that it's a purchase invoice journal. We can see that it's journal imports for the UK primary ledger, and it's a purchase invoice. And here what we're interested in at line level is the actual account, and we can see 241,600. So we can drill down and have a look at the accounting flex field and look at the account and see 241,600 for the AP inventory accrual for company 20, which is the UK. And again, we can do that for line 2 as well. You can see account 201100, which is AP trade, again for company 20, which is the UK. And we can now drill down further on that line. So let's do that. Let's go further down on this line, and it will just open up and take us to the line details. And what we can do here is actually, we're in general ledger, we seek that account code combination. And it may be you say, well, what was the associated transaction? Where did it come from? I just want to have a look at that transaction. So you can click on view transaction, and it will take you back. So we're in general ledger, but it's bringing into general ledger the original transaction, which was the payables from accounts payables, that invoice that we're matching to the purchase order, which was receipted. So in a second now, it will take us to the invoice workbench. And yes, here we can see it. The fact that we've created this invoice, which was matched to that purchase order number for the supplier Toshiba, and it's been validated and it's been accounted for, so that's great. So that's it for this video. Thank you.